Hello everyone, so today we'll be flying Flightgear's A320 from Stuttgart to Hamburg. It's going to explain how to start it up, how to enter the flight plan, and all of the procedures it uses. First things going to get it start up from cold and dark. So let's get right to it, shall we? The first step will be to turn on the batteries and the external power unit. To turn the external power unit, you'll need to go to the ground services and click over here so it can be enabled. This doesn't appear when it's not enabled. So now we'll just click it and most of the plane will turn on. That does a lot. We can also turn the batteries on even though it's not necessary. It is useful. So we can press batteries. And now, to make it simple, all of the buttons that say off, they should be pressed, so we can just turn them all on. It's also important to get the signs to get to armed. We'll also get the IRS aligned, so set them all to nav. And finally, the APU should be turned on to start. And the probe window heat is also recommended. The lights for now will just have the navigation and logo lights on, and we could turn on the seatbelt signs on, which is not too necessary, but whatever, I just turned them on. If you want to have lights on the overhead panel, you can use this to get them up a bit. You can choose whether to put it. This is for the air conditioned, so you can choose whether you want it to be cold or hot. It won't make much difference, but it's a nice feature. Now let's get to the rest of the cockpit preparation. We've almost got everything ready. We have to get the flight plan into the MCDU. Oh, and turn the radio as well, sorry, like so, and this one too. Here you can also get the lights to go up a bit because they're kind of low. So the first we should go here, press on FMGC, and that's right. There's a lot of things you can read and learn about, but we'll just go over the essentials, which will be getting the flight plan. There's all of the fuel and takeoff preparations, which can also be used, and they are very important. But for the purpose of this video, we'll only talk about the flight plan. To get the flight, we have to use SimBrief. I'm not sure you know about SimBrief. If you don't, you should really check it out because it's really interesting. What you have to do is set all of the details, and it will give you a route. So let's do that. Our airline will be Lufthansa, which its ICAO code is DLH. You can search for every airline's ICAO code on Google. Flight number doesn't really matter, we'll just choose 653. You could look for a flight that does exist between Stuttgart and Hamburg and put its flight number, but we're not doing that today. We're going to depart from Stuttgart and we'll go to Hamburg. These are their ICAO codes. You can also check them out on the search bar. Our aircraft will be an A320. And that's mostly it. You could also change all of these selections with fuel, departure runway, but it uses it looks up for actual information, so it uses the correct runways. If you are flying on bad sim, you'd also be using this runway and this departure most probably. So this is the route it gives us. That's what we'll have to get on the MCDU. For now, let's just set the initial information, which is going to be from and where are we going. Okay. The MCDU is pretty straightforward, just press on the buttons for each letter. If you want to write faster, you can click on it, and this will appear here. You can toggle keyboard input, so you can write using your keyboard. So we're going from Stuttgart to Hamburg. We'll also need to align the IRS, so we can press here and align on reference. So that's done. Now we can insert our flight number, which was Lufthansa 643. The cost index is usually a number between 1 and 1,000, and depending on your airline or the flight you'll be flying, you'll use one or another. On our case, it should be around 30. Most airlines would use it, so we insert that too. We can also check for our flight, for our cruising altitude over here. But we first have to generate flight. I sort of forgot about that. This over here will be our cruising altitude. We'll set 350 over here, and it automatically gets us the temperature on that altitude. That's the first part. We can also change and get all of the fuel information, which we have on this part. You can just follow that, it's pretty straightforward. For now though, we'll go over to the flight plan and get the important part, which is the flight plan. We could use the departure and all of the airways. This is an airway and this is a waypoint, and this is another airway. But Flightgear doesn't support airways, so instead we'll just look up each waypoint on its position and set it up. What we would usually do on an actual aircraft would be press on the destination airport, departure, and we would select the seat. We're departing from runway 25, but there are no seats. That's the problem. Instead, we'll just insert the waypoints ourselves. The first is Delta Sierra 050. We get that here. Then we have Delta Sierra 040 and 041. And so on, so on. It's a pretty long flight. We could be here for a long time just inserting all waypoints. Instead, we'll just leave it like this and continue with the startup procedure. Once we've inserted all of the waypoints, we must go on temporary insert, and if we had all of the waypoints, we would remove this flight plan discontinuity by pressing Control and then pressing over here, and it disappears. So that's the MCDU. Now we would request for IFR clearance if we were flying with ATC, which we are not today, and we would set our squawk to, so let's imagine our squawk is 1000. We would also have to set our initial climb, that I believe is 5,000, but I'm not sure. We would have to check up the charts. That's a very important part for a flight. I use ChartFox. We would go chartfox.org slash Echo Delta Delta Sierra, which is the IKEA code for Stuttgart. If you're using it for the first time, you would have to sign in or log in. You'd look for our departure, which in our case is Okiba for Bravo. From runway 25, so it should be here, Obika. Oh, so, yeah. Someone misspelled that or something, because that's not the same as it appears on the flight plan. Anyway, we would check all of our departures and learn all about them, like you should not pass over some altitude at some point. For example, over here, if we were to go over here, we had to be at 5,000. We're not though, we're going to Okiba. That's our route. You should check it out more carefully if you're actually doing a flight on Platsim or somewhere else, because it's a really important part of the flight. You don't want to mess up and make everyone angry. We'll just skip that though and go straight to the startup procedure. First, we should remove the ground services, which I'm just going to do right now. The utilities, the ground services. We've already started the APU and we've got the battery, so we don't need the external power anymore. Okay, now we can close all doors. Sorry about the frame rate, it's not ideal, but it works for me. Hope it doesn't bother you though. So once everything is ready, you should also set the altimeter. You should check up the 80s and set the altimeter correctly. You should also set the speed ready for whenever you have to turn the auto throttle on. For now, we'll just leave it to 200 knots. The heading should be the departure heading, which in our case is the departure runway heading, which in our case is 250. And that's mostly it. Now we would request push and start or start up, depending on the procedures on every aircraft. To push back, we would go here, connect to the aircraft and enter the route. We imagine we have to push back facing east, that would be in that direction. So we just set the route to do so. That's not a too nice route. Let me do that properly. Yeah, that should do it. And now release the parking brakes, like so, and you can start the pushback. While you do, we should also start engines. To do that, we have to go up here, make sure the APU is already available. If it was still on start on, it would mean it's not available yet. We would have to press APU bleed and go down here, set ignition to start, and we will start with engine number 2. For some reason that's how it works on the A320. And we now have to monitor how the fuel levels are going up. so that's good. Meanwhile, we're still pushing back. You can configure the lightning. I don't like how this is just too bright. You can get it down a bit, like so. I prefer it like this way, and the same with the other screens. We've finished pushback. Let's just set this to center and disconnect and get the parking brakes back on, of course. Okay, so engine number 2 is already on, not increasing, so we can start engine number 1 too. And now we'd go over the taxi checklist, which includes getting the taxi lights on, of course. Oh, beacon lights on should have also been. If it's night, you can also turn the runway turn-off lights on, but it's not. It's still daytime, so that's not gonna be necessary. You can take taxi lights on, and you can set the landing lights to off and not retract. So when you're ready to depart, you can just get them to on. Great. We can also do a flight control check. Control check. Other one to the left. Other one to the right. Elevator up. Elevator down. Rather right. And rather left. Oh, it was rather left, rather right. Anyway, that's all for now. The engines are started up perfectly. All of these warnings are because I accidentally set the throttle to maximum and it thought I was taking off, which I'm not, so you shouldn't have this. Now we have already started up the engine, so we can turn the APU off. And now with request taxi, we'd be given the instructions and we just taxi through the runway.